If someone knocked at your front door right now, they were cold and hungry, maybe battered, maybe fearful for their life, what would you do? Would you invite them in, make them a cup of tea, sit them on the sofa, calm them down? Or would you slam the door in their face? What would you do? It's not a rhetorical question. I'd love to know. What would you do? If we're meeting for the first time, my name's Mark, and this is Tiny Politics. What is the purpose of Tiny Politics? To my mind, at 61 years old, politics has got too big and too all-pervasive. It seems to influence every single aspect of our life, when in truth, it really doesn't. But the biggest problem that I have with modern politics is purely this. It is designed specifically to represent the views of individual people like me and like you. And yet increasingly, it doesn't seem to do that. And what I don't understand is why, when you blow up politics from the thoughts and the hopes and the aspirations of one person, and you magnify it to cover the entire nation, suddenly it becomes skewed. Going back to that original question, what would you do if somebody turned up at your doorstep, afraid and alone and cold and hungry? Now, to my mind, the answer is very straightforward. I'd open the door, I'd invite them in. I'm English, so, as far as I'm concerned, a cup of tea cures all ills. I'd make them a cup of tea, maybe phone the authorities and report the fact that they were in trouble or in need of something. I'd offer refuge, I'd offer solace. I'd be a shoulder to cry on, perhaps. And yet, as a nation, we don't do that. As a nation, we look upon people that are escaping from war-torn countries and persecution for their beliefs or their sexual orientation, and we see those as the enemy. And I don't know why. Now, one of the things that always comes up when anyone ever discusses this is this notion of they will take too much. Migrants will come here, they'll sponge off the state, they'll take our jobs, they'll clog up the National Health Service. Is that true? To my mind, we have enough. If my imaginary person knocked at my door and they were cold and they were tired and they were hungry and they were beaten and they were fearful, I wouldn't ask what their religion was. I wouldn't ask what their personal beliefs were. I wouldn't ask about their sexual orientation, whether they were a particular gender. I'd just invite them in. And when I invited them in, I wouldn't be worried that they might drink all of my tea, because that's not how people are. I wouldn't be expecting them to eat all my biscuits or to take up residence on my sofa, because that's not how the real world works. And I think we've lost sight of that. Now, I realise what I'm saying here is very divisive, and I need to add, I'm not a politician. I'm not an agitator. I don't lean left or right. Over the years, I've voted for Conservative. I voted for Labour as well. I voted Liberal Democrat once as well. And I tend to go with my political beliefs wherever I believe best represents what I believe. But increasingly, I don't think that the politicians of this world actually represent our personal feelings. And it's not just about migration, but migration, bearing in mind that the last general election here in the UK was fought along the lines of migration and small boats and stopping the small boats. And we had politicians basically recommending that we send out effectively the Coast Guard to drive back those that are trying to escape persecution. There will unquestionably be bad actors in there. Some of those people that have made their way across the English Channel may well have a criminal past. They may well be coming here for nefarious or spurious needs, whatever it might be, but they will be in the minority. And I think we've lost sight of that. I'll go back to my original point. Politicians, elected politicians and elected officials are there to represent our views. That's what they are supposed to do. And even though our country is very much divided, we've got reform on the rise. Our last general election, as I say, was fought along the lines of migration and preventing migration. Despite all of that, most people in this country are decent. They're welcoming. This is a melting pot. I went to a school in London when I was young. I was It was roughly half white and half black. Wasn't a problem. My best friend growing up was from Indian descent. That wasn't a problem at all. We're quite happy in this country to go out for a curry or for a Chinese meal, and then all of a sudden we have an issue with the people that make those meals. It makes no sense at all, and I don't think that's actually what the real crux of what the UK is like. I think we're better than that. The whole purpose of Tiny Politics, and I'm going to do more of these videos. I've started a new channel specifically for it. You can probably see in the background, I've got a setup here. I do live streaming. I'm a journalist by training. I do a live stream on a completely disassociated subject. I write about demolition and construction, which got nothing, well, very little to do with politics at all. That's what I do for a day job. But this, I just think that it's about time somebody had a voice, had something to say about the normality of living here. I am going to do more on American politics at some point in the very near future. But I was struck by this. For the past couple of years, my TV screen and my internet feed and my social media feed has been filled with images of Donald Trump and his ramblings and his invasion of one country, his bombing of another, and how he was releasing ICE agents to go and arrest people, and he was purging Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and all of that kind of thing. I was in the States. I've been in the States a couple of times over the last 2 years. It's not real. I mean, it is real, don't get me wrong. Those purges are happening. Donald Trump is by far the most divisive president the Americans have ever had. But when you actually meet Americans in America, I was in Kentucky and I was in Las Vegas, all of that just fades away. People from Las Vegas are still from Las Vegas. People from Kentucky are still from Kentucky. Texans are still Texans. Californians are still Californians. And they all just get along. One of my problems, and I hate to say this, it's because I am a journalist and it troubles me to say this, but I do think that one of the key issues in all of this is the media. There was a time, and I'm 61 years old, so I remember those times. You had a 9 o'clock news or a 10 o'clock news on the TV, and you had your daily newspaper. That was you coming up to speed with what was happening in the world. Now we have 24-hour rolling news. The news organisations are constantly striving to come up with the next news story, to examine the story even more closely, to exaggerate and to overemphasise and to big up, as the kids would say today, to really exaggerate what is going on. So Donald Trump may say something, and it's front page news. It will make virtually no difference to those in America. It will certainly make even less difference to us here in the UK and other parts of the world. That's not the case, obviously, in places like Iran, which is currently in conflict with America, and so on. We fully understand that. But the absolute truth is, politics kind of exists in a bubble. The media has opened that bubble, and it's opened Pandora's box. It's let the cat out of the bag, and we're struggling to put it back in. The truth is, a lot of what happens in Parliament, a lot of what happens in the White House, doesn't actually matter that much. And I think we've lost sight of that. But I'm going to go back. I don't want these videos to be too long, so I want to go back to my initial point. If somebody knocked at my door right now, and they were cold, and they were hungry, and they were maybe battered or beaten, or they were fearful, in fear of their life, I'd open my door, and I want to believe that most of my fellow countrymen would do exactly the same thing, that we wouldn't want them vetted. We wouldn't differentiate, oh, it's a woman, she can come in, it's a child, they can come in, it's a man, no, he may be an axe murderer, he must stay out. I don't think that's how we are. But our politics suggests otherwise. We're a nation that has been built on welcoming everyone from everywhere. And now all of a sudden, we're not. And I think we still are. I think we, the people, still are. But I think our politicians have sensed blood in the water. There are votes to be had out of division. You've only got to look back at the Brexit debacle. The whole Brexit referendum came about purely because David Cameron, our PM at the time, sensed the rise of UKIP, the UK Independence Party. So, to stave them off, basically, he decided, we'll give the nation the opportunity to decide. Do they want to be independent, or shall we remain a part of the European Union? And much to everyone's surprise, we decided to quit Europe, which I'll probably do a video on that at some point. But for the last 10, 15 years, virtually all of our politics have been fought along racial lines. And yet, we are a multicultural country. And we're better for it. So I'll go full circle. If somebody knocked on my door now, cold and hungry and tired and beaten and fearful, I'd let them in. What would you do?